Yes, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live, and download our free app to your smartphone so you can stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. We can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today, and it's really an honor to bring back to the program a super great cat and a guy who understands the rudiments of his apparatus, but also understands the idea of wanting to maintain fun on the bandstand and also raising the collective consciousness of the audience as well, which is something of a lost art in today's world of live music. My guest today continues to persevere, seminars, clinics, mentoring students, most importantly, showing what he can do on the bandstand in a group setting. Dean Brown, welcome back to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hey, glad to be back.
It's great to hear you, man. That was unfortunately I queued it up. I assumed you were off going to take a crazy solo, but it turned out that your violin or your fiddle violin player took it. It was New Morning from November 8th of 2017 with violin, vibes, electric bass, drums, and Dean Brown. Can you talk about that band?
Wow. Well, yeah, first place, when I was listening to it, I couldn't figure out what it was. I was like, because I never heard the recording before, and that's because I never heard it before. I was like, wow, what version of this song is this? You know what I mean? And now you've cleared it up for me. I didn't even realize somebody recorded it. So
this is a scrappy front of board. I mean, the audio is great. I'll send you the link, but it's like this. What's great is that I woke up this morning and transcribed that passage about you talking about just sometimes just really just enjoying when your solo's over, and we had a demonstration there for 2 minutes or so of you playing just rhythm licks, enhancing.
Right.
I mean, can you talk about that? You know, your bandstand demeanor is so great on this because you are not just there, head down or back to the audience, a la Miles. You know, it's like you're really getting the band into a groove and you're raising the collective consciousness of the audience. And I wanted to know about how important that is to you in terms of the live music experience, is raising the collective consciousness of the audience.
Well, you know, I think it's a happy sort of. I don't want to call it a byproduct because it's something different than that. It's it's when you're on the idea of, boy, it's hard to express. When you're on the bandstand, the idea is to try to get the audience to be engaged so that they can help make the music better. I don't know a different way to put it.
Can you talk about, this is so important, how can the audience help make the music better, and when did you experience that when you were younger and maybe didn't really buy into that per se?
Right. I mean, right, and that's exactly right. When you're young, you feel like, well, listen, you know, the hell with them if they don't get it. You know, you know, it's like we're trying to get to something here. We're trying to, we're trying to force feed you this incredible knowledge or whatever it is, this incredible enlightening experience. And if you don't get it, then that's your tough luck. But the stupidity in that approach is that it requires, in order to play at your at the highest level and to push the envelope, it requires external energy, I think, to do that. And that energy, I mean, you can get a lot of it from within, but the external energy certainly can come from the other band members. So there is that, So so there's always that possibility. And that's the thing, like when an audience truly doesn't get it, and they're just, the audience is mismatched to the
Right.
to the artist, which happens sometimes, just simply because it's like a subscription audience or something like that, where they're coming,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they're coming, whether it's you or whoever, they're coming because it's free, because that's part of their subscription, or something like that.
It's called corporate, the corporate rock tour, scene in some ways. I mean,
yeah.
I was just in Vegas. Thank you so much to the Skip Rickard and Michael Jensen. But I went to see Carlos Santana and had a chance to hang out with Cindy Blackman and do an interview. But I got to tell you, Dean, it was a good show, but it was nobody there was local. It was all tourists, or it was all people from out of town. It was the most corporate rock feel. So anyway, I dig with the subscription gig, whatever you want to call it. In some ways, I'm conflicted because I feel like people like that, it's the best thing for them is to hear that music, even if they don't understand it.
Oh, yeah, no, that's true. The thing is, that's always possible. As a matter of fact, that's why I always tell people, well, I'm getting sidetracked now, but
That's all right.
that's why I'm always telling people, agents and promoters and stuff. It's like, listen, it's really important that you get me in front of audiences that don't know me.
I love
so
it.
that they can,
I love it.
so that they can find out what my fans kind of already know, So to get back to that discussion about external energy. So, the band is bolstering each other. Hopefully, that's the idea. Is that that the collective is stronger than just the single entity, right?
Absolutely.
And then, like I said, the foolish part, when you're young or naive or whatever, is to think that in and of itself is going to take you to these quote unquote heights of creativity in a live situation without the audience. And that's just not true. I mean, the thing is that when the audience is engaged, now there's this giant collective of energy that's all rooting for the same thing, to be transformed, you know what I mean? And to be transfixed, and I think that's the thing that I'm trying to impress upon the people I play with, is what we're trying to get at. Everybody can play great sort of Jamie Aebersold solos. You know what I mean? You know what I mean by that?
No, but let me tell you, I love those records, those trio records. They swing pretty hard, but
they're incredible.
I dig it. I dig what you're saying. Yeah.
No, but I mean, the point is that everybody can play over a great rhythm section.
Sure. Right.
That's not reacting to you at all. They're just playing because it's a record. You know what I mean? It's like, the next time you put the record on, nothing's going to change.
Well, no, but I mean, at the same time, for like a rudimentary player like myself, I mean, having Rufus Reid just swing the trio is great. But I know what you're saying.
It's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important. But like I say, it's anybody can play over that and not feel compelled to try to interact with it, because obviously you can't. But I mean, you can to a certain degree, but the next time it's going to be the same, right? Because it's the same exact playing.
Right.
But there's a different thing that happens when when you're in a situation with a group where you feel like the whole room is playing the music, not just you or you and the drummer or whatever, you know, and that's where you get to some spirituality in the music that you just don't attain in a vacuum.
Do you, I mean, I want you to go a little bit deeper on the audience. This is important for people that are going to hear this or when I transcribe it. When you say help, when Dean Brown opens his eyes when you're playing and you see people gyrating and dancing the way you are, is that the help you're talking about? Is it the idea of feeling a wave of energy?
I don't know if it's, yeah. I mean, it could be. I don't know if it's as tangible as all that,
sure.
You know, although I think that sometimes, you know, you are in, I'll be playing and I'll happen to look out into the audience and I'll see someone that's playing me. And I'm going, and I try to sort of engage that energy so that to allow them to do it in a way without pandering, without, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm trying to clown myself, you know what I mean? And sort of be a puppet of some sort of showbiz shtick or something like that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is I'm now having this person. I don't know their name. I don't know anything about them, but we're having an intimate musical experience, and I think that when the other people adjacent to that person feel that, they see me looking at that person, you know, then they become engaged in it as well, you know. So it's very interesting. I mean, the danger, of course, is, like I said, is that you get into this head where you're trying to elicit responses, you know, by doing you know, circus type shit. You know what I mean?
But that takes so, but I mean, what your ethos is well, what you talked about with Electric Ladyland when you heard him playing Voodoo, when you heard Jimmy playing Voodoo Child, and he was playing these rhythm, these chick sounds, but then he was actually playing, he was soloing and playing rhythm at the same time, so the whole band could feed off of it. And that was in the studio, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I think going back to that clip of music, albeit it was the first time you heard it, you were very animated on stage. You don't stand in the same place. You know, you are. Like, for instance, that night the band everybody was smiling ear to ear. Was that one of those things where? Was that an audience that was put in front of you that didn't know who Dean Brown was? I mean, that to me is so.
No. Those are that audience. I mean, you said that was at New Morning?
New Morning in November. That was just like that was a couple days ago. It was like November 2017.
And it's a video?
It's up on YouTube, baby. I just pulled it up. I called it a minute before I called you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this is instantaneous. We live in an instantaneous world now, man.
Man, I mean, I had no idea.
I'll send it to you right now.
Anything going on with it.
But that was a Dean Brown. That was a Dean Brown bag of people. I mean, that was the people knew you at that gig.
That was a good solo too. That Mateus was taking.
Oh, he was burning. He was burning.
He was burning. I mean, you know why? Because you know, I'm always urging him to just play the music that's in front of him, not to try to force it into you know, something, and not just him, everybody, you know. I'm always like, man, you know, this tune is particularly that tune. It's a tune called Bigfoot, right?
Right.
And on that tune, I'm always pleading with the soloists, you know, to like, man, just play the music that's there. We're grooving our asses off for you. You know, so don't take advantage of that and start playing a bunch of bullshit over it. You know,
wow.
you know,
yeah.
just be inside it, be a part of it. You know, and he was. So that was really cool, for me to hear. I didn't even know. I swear I did not know, what I didn't even know what song that was.
Well, as we speak, I'm sending over the you have the video now, officially.
Okay, cool. And now here's the thing about it. So let's answer your question. I mean, obviously, everybody that was in that room that night came there to hear that band. I would be very surprised if there were, many people. If they hadn't heard of me, they came there because somebody told them to go there. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
No, just for the record, it doesn't list. Was this overseas or was this domestic? It doesn't say it doesn't list the name of the venue.
Oh, New Morning.
Yeah.
is in Paris.
Okay, so that was it says that was the club. So that was in Paris, and people know, people in Paris. It was word of mouth or big.
Yeah. That would have been November
8th.
8th.
Yes,
that's right. November 8th. Yeah, it just happened.
Wow. So, but here's the larger point, because people can check that video out. I want you to talk to other artists, especially younger artists. Why do you say that to your management or your people, to say, put me in front of people who don't know who I am? To me, this is exactly the remedy for this Live Nation formulaic sort of groupthink live music structure. And if you could talk about a time when not just one person, but when you realize that method, that ideology was effective by putting you in front of people that had no idea who you were.
Oh, well, I knew that from the minute I started playing live. I mean, that my only chance to get my music out there, as a practical matter, is for people to hear me that haven't heard me before, so that they can then join the group of those people that believe in what I do, or at least have the choice to,
right?
And so that's the thing, Jake. I mean, look, if I keep preaching to the choir, right, then I'm never going to get to be able to expand my fan base. Which means that, again, as a practical matter, I'm not going to put enough asses in seats at the clubs
right.
and at the venues for the promoters to have faith in me as a viable commodity. And if I'm not that, so it's a really weird tightrope, a sort of fence that we have to,
Well, my question is, are you? Because that's what you want, and you want to grow your fan base, and you want to open people's ears, and I mean, it's all completely.
Yeah, but the only reason I want to do that is so I can play.
And you're willing to, and you are
it's
willing.
It's not like I want to make them, like billions of dollars. Although, I mean, hey, it wouldn't be bad, but I've never played music for that reason.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I just want to be able to play. I just want to be able to do what I love doing, and.
Well, I guess what I want you to tell people is that
the reality is if I don't, if I can't get venues to hire me and my group, then I can't do that. And so it's like, it feels like a very sort of urgent kind of situation for me, that I have to constantly make sure that I'm trying to expand my fan base so that people even somebody that likes the way I play or likes the music, right?
Right.
they're not going to come see me every time. Maybe they are. I don't know, but I mean, I'm not expecting that. So you need more people than you think you do. You know what I mean? In order to be able to maintain some sort of a consistent audience. An actual physical audience.
Absolutely. What I'm trying to get at, what I want you to express to people, their jaws will drop open, but that you're willing to take because you live to play, because you have a calling to play, and because you've always predicated your career on playing, that you're willing to take basically on a certain gig. You might not make any money on a certain tour if it doesn't pan out, but you're still willing to take that chance in order to grow. That's what I want you to tell people.
You have to. Listen, that's the reality. Listen, if you want to be a quote unquote sideman all your life or whatever, you can probably figure out a way to make a living and be comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. I mean, a lot of people don't consider themselves composers and stuff like that. But if you're like me and you write music and that's you write music not because you feel like, well, I have to write music or else people won't take me seriously as an artist. That's not why I write music. You know what I mean? It's like a stupid reason. I've always thought that was the stupidest reason to write music. It's like, oh, so now you're going to be a composer just because you're supposed to be?
Right.
Yeah,
right. No,
I mean, think about it. I mean, you spend, everybody, all the great musicians I know, I mean, spend hours and hours and hours, right? Honing their craft on their instrument, practicing and listening and transcribing and doing all kinds of stuff, right? But very few of them, quite frankly, spent that much time learning how to compose. And I don't consider myself a great composer, but I love that process, and I love the when every once in a while something turns out the way I wanted it to, and having said that, that's why I'm not a prolific recording artist in terms of I have 5 records out, but the thing is that there's not one track on any one of my records that I would consider filler. I kind of have to wait until it's all, passes the sort of Dean test, and that's, that's just the way it is. Some people are amazingly prolific, and at a very high quality, like Pat Metheny, for instance, or Marcus Miller, Wayne Shorter, it's
right.
Just, they're.
But you didn't start. I mean, okay. So maybe your credits as far as compositional is not as dense as theirs. But you did not start composing until you really you became passionate about it. It wasn't because you were supposed to do it, right? Because you're supposed to follow.
Well, no. But that's not. I was passionate about composing, even when I didn't know how to do it.
I dig. Yeah. It took a while.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just
absolutely.
Which is why I felt like I didn't when I went to Berklee College. I didn't go there as a performance major. I was a composition major.
Wow.
Because I was more interested in. Man, look, I mean, the thing is that playing, being a performance major meant that, you would spend a lot of time, sort of learning a repertoire and all this stuff and doing a bunch of sort of performance-oriented things with your instrument at school, right?
Absolutely.
And I was already a professional musician before I got there, you know what I mean? So it was like it didn't, even though I had, plenty to learn on guitar and still have plenty to learn on guitar. I felt like, wow, I could make better use of my time here by finding out a little bit more about arranging and orchestration and form and different aspects of the sort of way music works and the process. So I went that direction. So I've been I've been writing music since I was a kid. Not very good music, but when I was a kid, but like I said, the passion was there, and I felt compelled, and that's what I'm talking about. Is that a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of artists, not a lot, but some. I should be fair and say some artists write music for the wrong reasons. Because they feel like, well, I need to get the publishing on this.
Right. And
you know what I mean?
And if you're doing it because you think you're supposed to be doing it, it's going to lack any kind of spiritual soul quality to it. I mean, I think that you can probably listen to your tunes and maybe sometimes cringe at, like the way I look.
But I mean, oh yeah, but there's weird things that happen. I mean, look at the tune "Sidewinder" by Lee Morgan.
It was a Bob Cranshaw, the backbeat, the whole thing that changed music.
Yeah. But he hated that song.
Of course,
because of the way it was written. Because he felt like it was just this thing he had. Went in the bathroom or whatever and wrote because they needed one more song for the. And
it became
the record.
Yeah, right. He
just crapped it out. You know what I mean? But the thing is that Lee was such a good composer, and his craft had already been honed, that he was capable of doing that. Marcus Miller told me one time that, some of the best things that he's written, like for artists like David Sanborn and people like that, those tunes, he said, he wrote in 15 minutes,
Really?
Like boom. Yeah, because those songs are they're pretty simple when you really, when you listen to them, sort of like Chicago Song, things like that, tunes that, like I said, that that he wrote for Dave. That tune "Snakes," which is a really cool tune. There's some other songs that have, are harmonically more dense, that he wrote, like Benny, is a good example of one of them. Straight from the Heart is another one, But again, I think Marcus, because he just writes so much music, he's capable of working under pressure and doing something quickly, and so am I. It's that's something that you can do only because you've written a lot, you've made a lot of mistakes and written a lot of stuff, and know what the there's you know how to stay in your lane when you've only got an hour.
Well, and I mean, and some of that is also, I mean, yeah, and then you, some people just are really good up against the clock too. I mean, that's, and maybe with Sanborn and things like that, I don't know, this is, you could do like a chord, some chord changes, but not a whole arrangement, and just allow the artistry of the person to come in and flush it out.
Well, there's some of that.
Yeah.
There's some of that, although Marcus is more of a control freak than that, you know what I mean? So he's going to make damn sure that it's the way he wants it.
Well, then it just comes down to experience, trial and error, mistakes, because that's, that is 15 minutes to cut to burn out to get a song out there is impressive. We have a game, Dean, on this program called Name That Voice, but I want you to listen to this guy. Not sure if you've collaborated with him before, but pay attention to the content, and then we'll come back and break it down.
Okay.
Yes, improvisation is where you make up a melody, and in relation to a musical form that is being played by a rhythm section, and it could be like I said in any style. But there's basically some notes sound better than others, but you play with the dissonance when you improvise, and it's exactly like you said before. It's you're actually in the present, and it's something that comes out of. In my case, comes out of my subconscious. I've been playing the instrument so long. I'm 69 years old. Been playing professionally since I was 14. So, let's do the math. 55 years, right?
Right.
The instrument kind of plays itself at this point. Whatever instrument I happen to be playing, whether it's trumpet, trombone, tuba, flute,
fiddle,
baritone sax,
fiddle.
whatever.
Fiddle.
I did when I was younger. I gave it up, unfortunately. So I don't fiddle around anymore.
You don't fiddle
even
around?
Even electric bass.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
The instrument plays itself at this point in my career. So I just listen to that other side of my brain. Your brain has a side that does intellectual mathematical thinking, and then there's the other side of the brain. Is where the creative force comes from. And there's always a melody going on there in my head. And so I just listen to that melody and execute it.
All right, Dean, you want to give a shot? You have any idea who that might be?
Man, I have no idea.
I'm sorry, that's so way out there. Tom Bones Malone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know what? I have played with him.
I bet you
know
did. Tell me when you played with Bones.
Oh, man, we did... we did a number of things with Billy Cobham.
Really?
Really? Over the years.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. There's a few recordings. There's a recording of the Gil Evans Orchestra.
Well, of course.
Then there was a recording of Louis Bellson Big Band. And there's a couple of other things, that are, but they're all. The linchpin is Billy Cobham.
I want you to. This is what. So. What caught my ear about that is that you were talking about. He was talking about improvisation, and he's talking about it playing horns. But can you talk about creating dissidence as a listener? That's what I get off on, whether I'm listening to you, or Garcia, or any guitar player. But he put it into words, and it's this idea that when you're improvising, there's always dissidence. And I wanted you to talk about, is that something that just, how did you cultivate that? Because that's how the music grows. And I just wanted you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's, I think the more important thing that I heard from him is that he said he just plays what he hears inside his head.
Go ahead.
And makes it come out the instrument, And so...
Is that something that was in your head? Did you have a melody in your head when you were is this something that some people are just born with, or that melody that's dancing around?
No. Matter of fact, anybody that's ever studied with me knows that I tell them, put your instrument down and start doing some ear training, because you're the instrument. Not the instrument is just a conduit,
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that a lot of especially guitar players, they're so into all these patterns and sort of wow techniques and things, and those are all cool if in the context of the bigger picture of saying something, and so to me, it's like I tell people like this, and I'll relate it to you. When I'm teaching a class or even teaching a private lesson or something, if you hear a note in your head while you're soloing, you hear a note, and you know that at this point, right now, if you hit that note, that's going to be the perfect note for what you feel and what you're trying to express, right? And you actually hit it, and that note's the note that you thought it was going to be because your ears were developed enough, and your technique was developed enough so that there was a very little delay in your ability to hear the note in your head and be able to manifest it immediately, right? If you do that, then all of a sudden there's this sort of euphoric feeling that you get from doing that. And imagine doing that over and over. It's like it's cumulative, right? So that all of a sudden now you're actually getting high from playing music. And I don't mean high like doing heroin or something like that. That's not what I'm talking about.
There's a natural high. It's a natural high.
Yeah. And that feeling enables your brain, because of how in tune it is and how relaxed it is. It allows your brain to work better than it works normally, which means that you start playing you start expressing yourself even better, even as the solo goes on or as the song goes on, And I tell people, if you've never experienced that, then you're missing one of the most beautiful experiences that exists in music, and you're cheating yourself. And the reason why you're cheating yourself is because you don't do enough friggin' ear training.
Can you explain? Because so this is important because are you teaching? You're not in the university system. You might, right? You're not in academia per se, or are you?
Well, I teach at MI, and I teach a couple of courses of my own curriculum there.
So MI
is an accredited school, I guess.
So when you say, because Gary Bartz told me 5 years ago when I started my show, he's at Oberlin, and he said my students' ears are locked, right? They're locked. Their ears are locked. And Bones was talking about having this melody, splitting your brain into one side deals with the technical part of it and all that mathematical stuff, and then the other side is the creative part. And the euphoria that you're just talking about seems to me to be this almost subconscious or unconscious fusing of both sides of the brain. But yet, young Olson.
It is. I mean, look, I'm not qualified to really.
Me neither, man.
You know what I mean?
But let's do it anyway.
But
man.
I know. Yeah. But I know just from.
Yeah.
I just know from experience. Sort of like Chinese medicine. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like that medicine, for instance, it's like they say, oh, he's a 10th generation, healer, or something like that. And it's like, what the hell does that mean? It's like, well, that means that his father and his father before him and his mother before him or whatever, blah, 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 blah. He's got the benefit of all of that knowledge.
Well, and also obviously, I'm sure that you could put people up with testimonials saying his methods worked with me. He has street
right.
Street
but the thing is that it's like any kind of medicine that existed before the AMA, but is medicine that was based on trial and error.
Absolutely.
You put this, take this. Oh, that kills you. Don't take that. You know what I mean? So,
right, that doesn't kill me.
Of it, if you take a little of it, it does something good, or so. I don't know. You know what I mean? Who knows?
Right.
So so there is that whole thing, and like I said, with um, with me, it's like I'm certainly not qualified to talk about you know, the electrochemical, you know, goings on of our brain, you know.
No, but you
central
can
nervous
talk about the
system.
metaphysical. Yeah, you can. You've been on the bandstand
Exactly.
enough. Yeah,
But I can just talk about the fact that I know shit works or
exactly.
doesn't.
Thank you.
You know.
Yep.
And that's all. That's a very powerful thing as well, because that's you know, that's evidence. You know, and so and this. So to answer your question about this, you know, connection between the, you know, sort of analytical part of our brain and the creative part of it, I think that's what you're talking about.
That's
right?
exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. And the
To
fusing of the two in a
answer-
subconscious way, and the fusing of the, because it seems like
yeah. I don't know if that's what's happening or if it's all happening on one side or whatever, but the or if there is actually is two sides. I don't even know. You know, like because the thing is once you've practiced technique and you've internalized so much of the quote unquote nuts and bolts of music, then it becomes more of a lizard brain kind of thing, doesn't it? I mean,
Absolutely.
it's you know.
I can't believe you just used that term.
know?
Yeah, no, I no, I mean it's, yeah, and
I mean, because you're not doing it because, you know, at a certain point, you know, like, is walking like a thing where you say, okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, you know what I mean? When you walk, no, you just walk. You're just, you know, it took you a while to figure out how to do it, you know, but then you just kind of do it, right?
it took me 2 years. My parents thought I had serious developmental delays, you know. But yeah, you have to, and I just wonder if not every. I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush, but I just wonder if my generation and younger generations are able, with the saturation of material that's available with the click of a button today, whether they have the discipline to break off of the mathematical part of the brain.
I reject that concept that somehow that modern technology is hampering people's ability to excel as artists. You know, because the fact of the matter is there's an inner compulsion in certain human beings to want to get to somewhere, you know, and you know, the grim reality is that the you know, and this has been true no matter before there was electricity or whatever, the cream rises to the top, you know. So
I mean, I guess all I'm saying is I can't. How come I can't tell? And I mean, okay, so I guess all I'm saying is this: I'm always searching for individual sound, and I really can't really tell in today's when you talk about instrumental improvisational music. I can't tell who's playing. So there's something very formulaic going on, and that's all I'm trying to identify. When you talk about the propensity of people,
yeah, maybe. I mean, you know, I think that. Just to play devil's advocate with you, though, that same system by which you're hearing this formulaic thing, which is sort of, I guess, the internet or whatever, you know, is the same thing that's enabling you to hear a much bigger sampling of people. That sampling of people was there before. You know, it's just that now you're or we are capable of hearing all these people, you know, just a lot more easily, you know. And there's a glut of that you hear, you know, like I say, on via the internet,
So talk about,
But that doesn't
we can go
mean-
back and
but,
forth.
But
and
the
that's,
thing is
yeah.
that, think about it, Jake, think about it. If it was before, before that, like say before the, say the 80s or the 70s, right?
Right.
So before that, sort of extreme information overload was available, there were still a ton of people, that sort of sounded like Sonny Stitt, on tenor,
I dig.
right?
I dig.
Like a ton, but there was only one guy that sounded like Michael Brecker,
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
So I want to ask you this. No, because we've actually talked about this. So I totally respect where you're coming from. Why do you put such an onus on ear training with your students?
Oh, because it's so simple. Because if you're, well, two reasons. The paramount one, is if you don't speak the language, then how can you possibly communicate with someone?
Mm-hmm.
That's the main reason. It's like, in other words, I'm sitting here speaking English to you, and you're speaking it back to me, and we're talking, and we're having hopefully an interesting discussion about music. But we don't have to think of each word or how we're constructing or syntax or any of that, right?
Right.
We're just doing it, right? You got to be able to do that. You got to be able to do that with music, with those 12 notes, or if you're playing microtonal music, however many notes, So that just seems like obvious to me, that you have to, like, why are you trying to communicate in a language that you don't speak? It makes no sense, So I always tell people, if you're going to practice, if you only have an hour to practice, then make sure a half hour of it is ear training, or transcribing or something that's related to making you have a more intimate relationship with music, so that when you do pick up the instrument, there's actually the instrument is just, like I said, becomes just a conduit for what you want to express. So that's the importance of ear training, primarily, and like obviously the secondary part of it is that it enables you to learn stuff much faster.
Would you say that when Berkeley or Sonny's Place or Mr. Hicks' room, you didn't have, you weren't necessarily recording off the soundboard. You didn't necessarily have access to what you played that night, the next day. How did you learn ear training and juxtapose that to how younger cats who come to you are learning it? Because you're telling them, if you only have an hour to practice a day, spend a half hour doing ear training. And is that the advice? Is that you got from the cats at Berkeley, or did you have a different type?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, that's what everybody did. That's what Charlie Parker did. You know what I mean? That's what that's what Miles Davis did. That's what everybody did. Everybody, figured out, either on an organic level or on a very, sort of methodical level, like John Coltrane or something. They figured stuff out, and they're and your ear, which is connected to you, right? And it's connected to your brain, which means it's connected to your heart and all that.
Right.
It's like you're all one, right? That's how you take music in, right? That's how do you decide whether you like something or you don't.
If it touches your heart, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, but basically you have to hear it.
I have to know. It has to go through your. It has to go through your ears into your. Absolutely.
It's got to go through your ears, right? It's got to go through your ears to get to wherever else it's going to go, right?
Absolutely.
And so if it's going through your ears, then it makes sense that you need to develop that. And the thing is that the other important thing is that when you hear something that moves you, that resonates with you, right? You want to be able to recognize that so that you can sort of take that and morph it into your lexicon. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I mean, I'm taking. Yeah, no, I mean, to me, it's like as a listener, that to me seems like a very natural thing. It doesn't seem like that needs to be something that needs to be practiced. But I guess maybe I'm just an emotional, sensitive person that can feel that stuff right away.
No. But I mean, the thing is you get sidetracked because you think I got to practice a scale, I got to do this, and then
Yeah.
and that's all true.
Yeah. Right.
All of that is true. But like I said, if you overemphasize, just working on technique, and you underemphasize the impactfulness of a good ear, then you're never going to be a great improviser because you're never going to your muse is never going to actually be able to sort of just freely sort of express itself.
This was episode 2.1. I can't believe we just went through 55 minutes already. We're going to have to do part. I want to do another part because we didn't get to half the questions I had. I just want to read you this before I let you go. Have you marinate on it. This is before I knew you, and this was for my third interview with Billy Cobham, and I was talking about he was coming to Tucson. This is back in like 2014, and this is what he said about you. He said, and I just want you to think about this. I found it interesting on a variety of levels, but we'll pick up on it in part 2.2. He said, the one person who has been with me for a major portion of my career, off and on, always doing something with me, is Dean Brown. Sometimes years will go by and we do nothing. But when we come back together, Dean Brown is there. I never have to worry about him. I know who he is. I know his family. I know his general makeup as a person. I know his emotions and how he wears them, and it comes through his music. He's not going to be everybody's player, but for me, he's Mr. Consistency. He's always the same since 1981. That's how long we've been working together. That you can just marinate on that. To me, Dean Brown, again, who am I to talk to say, Mr. Consistency, maybe you're showing up on time, but your playing is great and it's unique. And I wouldn't necessarily call it consistent, but I want you to think about that and let's pick up on that in part 2.2.
All right.
All right.
All right. It was nice ability to say that,
Well, you know what? I also like the fact, I'm not everybody's broadcaster either. Okay. So I dig,
right.
I like you have an attitude in your playing and you have an attack in your playing and it's unique and that's what it's about. So Dean Brown,
right.
We'll just keep kicking butt. I think we did even better this time than set one. So we're getting stronger every time. And we'll,
okay, man. Well, I'm happy to do these because,
it's important.
I think it's important for people to understand how the process works, and how different people perceive it,
Let me tell you one other thing, though. As we get through this more and more, you're still on the younger side. I just did 3 interviews with David Lindley, and he said to me, Jake, this is really important for me because a lot of people, this stuff gets sucked into a funnel, your whole career, the work you've done, and you lose sight of it. And he goes, you're providing, through these talks, definition for me on the work that I've done. So there's a multi-layered thing going on here, and I'm glad to connect with cats like yourself who are, pushing the lineage forward, increasing vocabulary, and inspiring peeps. So anyway, bless you, brother. We'll we'll do it again.
Okay, great, man. Thanks for the call, and yeah, I look forward to it.
All right, I'll talk to you soon, Dean.
Okay, bye bye.
Later, bye-bye. Dean Brown, part 2 in the books, and we'll be back with Justin Kreutzmann on the other side right after this.